The girl in the field asterisk, the giant harvester machine roared like a hungry monster. Its long spinning blades cut through tall crops, slicing everything in its path. Metal claws tore the plants from the ground, feeding them into the machine's open mouth. Dust and dirt filled the air as the machine rolled forward. The endless field stretched far under the hot sun, and tied to a wooden post right in front of the moving blades was a young alien girl. Her name was SYLA. Her arms were tied tightly behind her back with rough rope. Thick cords wrapped around her legs, locking her to the wooden post. Her purple skin was bruised, her long dark hair matted with dirt. A dirty cloth gagged her mouth, stopping her screams. Her wide golden eyes stared at the spinning blades as they crept closer. She struggled, pulling against the ropes, but they only cut deeper into her wrists. The harvester's metal teeth shone. In the sun, Scylla's own family had done this. Her father, her uncles, her own blood had dragged her into the field before dawn. They whispered lies. "It's for your own good, Scylla. You will pay the debt for us. They'll be pleased." And then they tied her up and left her. The debt collectors had forced the family into a horrible deal. One sacrifice for freedom. One child died. Now. The blades came closer. 10 feet. 7 feet. The ground shook with every move. Scylla's heart pounded. Tears ran down her face, mixing with sweat and dust. She closed her eyes. This was the end. She whispered in her head, "Please, let it be quick." But then the machine stopped. A loud screech filled the air as the emergency brakes locked. The wheels. The spinning blades slowed to a halt. Scylla's eyes snapped open. What happened? Heavy footsteps crunched through the dirt. A large shadow blocked the sun. A tall human man stood in front of her. He wore simple farmer clothes, brown work pants, a light shirt, boots covered in dust. His strong hands held a long metal lever, the emergency stop handle from the side of the harvester. His face was calm but serious. His brown eyes studied her. For a moment, neither moved. The man crouched slightly, speaking softly. "Easy, I won't hurt you." His voice was deep and kind. Scylla blinked, unsure if she was dreaming. The man pulled a small knife from his pocket. "Let's get you out of this mess, slowly, carefully." He cut through the ropes. Her wrists came free first. The rough rope left, red marks on her soft skin, then her ankles. Finally, he gently removed the dirty gag from her mouth. Scylla coughed and gasped for air. Her voice was weak and shaking. Who are you?" The man smiled softly. "Name's Ben." He glanced around quickly, making sure no one else was nearby. "You're safe now." Scylla pulled herself back against the wooden post, still afraid. Her people had warned her about humans. They were dangerous. They bought slaves. They sold bodies. Ben could be one of them. Ben saw the fear in her eyes. He knelt beside her, lowering his voice. "I don't want anything from you." He opened a small water flask and offered it gently. "Here, drink." Scylla hesitated. Was it poison? A trick? But her dry throat ached. She reached slowly and took a sip. The cold water slid down her throat like heaven. Tears filled her eyes again. Ben sat back and spoke softly. "I saw the harvester from my farm. The way it was headed didn't look right." He shook his head. "And I never expected to find a child tied up." Scylla looked down, ashamed. My family left me." Ben's eyes darkened. "Why?" she whispered. "To pay a debt." He sighed deeply. "I've seen too much of this." He stood and offered his hand. "Come on, let's get you out of this field." For a moment, Scylla stared at his hand. She had never trusted anyone so quickly, but something in his calm eyes made her believe. She took his hand. Ben gently helped her stand. Her legs wobbled, weak from hours of being tied. He lifted her into his strong arms. "You're safe now," he repeated softly. As he carried her away from the silent, deadly harvester, Scylla rested her head on his shoulder. Her heart still raced, but now for a different reason. Cole and Hope died behind them. The harvester stood, silent, its blade still, its hunger unfinished, because one man chose mercy over profit. But far away, her family watched from a distance, hidden in the trees. One uncle whispered, "She survived." Another hissed, "We'll lose everything if the collectors find out." And dark plans began to form again. The stranger's farm. She expected chains. She expected cold walls. She expected to be sold. But what she found was kindness, and that frightened her even more. Ben carried Scylla through the quiet valley. His strong arms held her carefully, as if she was something precious. The sun dipped lower behind the tall hills far away, beyond the fields. Her own family hid in the trees, watching. They whispered, "The human is taking her. She'll tell him everything. We need to stay hidden." But for Sila, those voices were gone now. All she could feel was the strange man's warmth and the growing questions in her mind. After a long walk, they reached a small farm. Ben gently placed Sila down on a wooden bench near his home. The house was simple, built from old stone, clean but worn. A small garden grew beside it. A few animals roamed freely. It was peaceful, nothing like the world Sila knew. Ben knelt in front of her. "You're safe here," he said softly. She stared at him, still unsure. Why help me?" she whispered. Ben sat back, wiping sweat from his forehead. "I saw someone who needed help. That's enough for me." Sila shook her head slowly. "My people, my family, they gave me away." Ben's jaw tightened, but he spoke gently. "Families fail sometimes, but that doesn't mean you don't deserve a life." He stood and pointed toward the small house. "You're tired. You need rest." Her eyes darted around nervously. "No chains, no chains. No locked doors." Ben smiled sadly. "No, you're free here." Sila followed him inside. The house smelled of bread and fresh wood. Soft light filled the room. Ben handed her a clean towel and pointed to a wash basin. "You can wash up." He laid simple clothes on the bed. They might be a little big, but they're clean. Sila stood frozen for a moment, her eyes wide in her world. Humans didn't give gifts without a price, but Ben walked away, giving her privacy. Later, she sat at the small wooden table, dressed in clean clothes, eating warm soup. She ate slowly at first, watching him carefully. Ben sat across from her, but didn't pressure her to speak. Finally, Sila whispered, "You live here alone?" Ben nodded. "My wife and daughter, they're gone." Sila's heart sank. "I'm sorry." Ben smiled faintly. "Long ago now." The silence was thick, but not heavy. It was peaceful. Comfortable. For the first time in her life, Sila didn't feel like prey. Outside, the sky turned purple as night came. Ben prepared a soft bed for her in the corner of the small room. "You'll be safe here tonight." Sila curled under the blanket, watching him. "Will you sell me tomorrow?" Ben stopped, shocked. "No." "Trade me for something?" "No." "Use me?" His voice was strong now. "Never." Sila's eyes filled with tears. "No one ever says that." Ben walked over, kneeling beside her. "I don't want anything from you, Sila." He gently touched her shoulder. "You've been treated like property, but you're not. You're a child." For a moment, Sila couldn't speak. Tears ran down her cheeks. Finally, she whispered, "Thank you." That night, she slept deeply for the first time in years, but far away, under the cover of night. Her family sent a message to the debt collectors. A sharp voice answered through the communicator. "If she talks, you all pay." The family trembled. The collector hissed, "We'll find her." The hunt was beginning, and Ben's peaceful farm would soon become a battlefield. The authorities hunt her. She was free for the first time, but freedom makes you visible. And some people hate what they cannot control. The next morning, soft golden light poured into Ben's small house. Sila woke slowly. The bed was warm. The air smelled of fresh bread baking in the kitchen. For a moment, she forgot everything. The ropes, the spinning harvester blades, the betrayal. For the first time in her short life, she felt safe. Ben smiled as she sat down at the table. "Sleep well?" he asked. Sila nodded shyly. "Very well." She watched him carefully as he placed food in front of her. Eggs, bread, fresh fruit, not poison, not drugged. Just food. She ate in silence, but felt her chest relax more with each bite. Later that day, Ben showed her around the small farm. He taught her how to feed the animals, check the soil, and water the crops. Sila was amazed at the peace of it all. "You do this every day?" she asked. Ben chuckled. "Every single day." He smiled. "No wars, no debts, just plants, animals, and hard work." But far away, dark eyes watched. The debt collectors had activated the search. Inside a cold alien command center, the collected leader hissed at his team. "Find the girl, silence her, and punish whoever hides her." Small tracking drones were sent into the valley, sweeping the area. One evening, as Ben and Sila sat by the garden watching the sunset, Sila asked softly, "Why are you kind to me?" Ben's voice was gentle. I once had a daughter. He paused, staring at the glowing horizon. She was about your age. She died during the early war. My wife too. Scylla's throat tightened. I'm sorry. Ben nodded. I couldn't save them, but maybe I can save you, she whispered. You already did. The two sat quietly as the stars appeared in the sky. Later that night, while Scylla slept, Ben studied his scanner carefully. A small blinking red light appeared on the screen. Drones. They were close. Ben whispered to himself. They've started hunting. The next morning, Ben led Scylla deep into the farm's hidden storage barn. He opened a hatch under the old floorboards, revealing a small underground room filled with emergency supplies. This is our safe room, he explained. Scylla's eyes widened. We're ready. Ben smiled. I always prepare for bad days. He showed her how to activate the silent mode, disable heat signals, and block scanning beams. Scylla listened carefully. She wasn't just a scared girl anymore. She was learning. She was fighting to stay free, but time was running out. The drones found broken branches and faint footprints leading toward Ben's land. At the debt collector's headquarters, a new plan was made. Send the enforcers. Later that day, as Ben repaired a small fence post, Scylla stood beside him. Her voice trembled slightly. What happens if they come? Ben paused. Then we protect each other. Scylla whispered, I don't want to be taken again. Ben's voice was firm. No one will take you. The wind shifted suddenly. In the distance, a black transport ship descended into the far edge of the valley. Scylla saw it first. Ben. He followed her gaze. His jaw tightened. They're here, inside the black ship. Armored enforcers prepared to move. Big, cold, ruthless. They didn't ask questions. They simply collected. Ben activated the defense systems around his farm. Small energy shields hummed to life. Hidden motion sensors lit up. He handed Scylla a small device. If something happens, press this. It will guide you to the underground safe room. Scylla held the device tightly. Her voice shook. I'm scared. Ben knelt in front of her. Being scared means you're alive. He placed his hand gently on her shoulder. But you're not alone. Far away, her own family watched from the cliffs. One uncle whispered, if the human fights, they'll all die. Another replied, let them. As long as she's silenced. Scylla's family had betrayed her once. Now they were willing to watch her die. But this time, Scylla wasn't a weak girl tied to a wooden post. This time, she had someone standing beside her. A father. The enforcers were coming, and the battle for her freedom had truly begun. The first confrontation. They came for the girl. They came for silence. But they didn't expect resistance, and they never expected a farmer to fight for family. The black transport ship landed at the edge of Ben's farm. The engines roared, kicking up dirt and dust. 6 armored enforcers marched out in perfect formation. Their black suits gleamed under the morning sun. Their helmets hid their faces. They moved like machines. From the hills above, Scylla's family watched silently. One uncle whispered, soon she'll be gone for good. Inside the house, Ben loaded his old blaster calmly. He handed a small knife to SYLA. Her hands trembled. I've never held a weapon before. Ben knelt before her. I hope you never have to use it. But you're stronger than you think. Scylla swallowed hard and nodded. The enforcers reached the front gate. They didn't knock. They simply smashed it open. The leader stepped forward, speaking through his helmet speaker. Turn over the girl, now. Ben stepped outside, standing tall. On the front porch. His voice was calm, but firm. She's under my protection. The lead enforcer raised his weapon. You are interfering with official debt recovery. This property is now subject to seizure. Ben didn't flinch. You'll leave my land, and you'll leave her alone. Inside, Scylla watched from the window, her heart pounding. She wanted to hide, but her legs wouldn't move. She remembered Ben's words. You are stronger than you think. The enforcer leader raised his hand. The soldiers moved in. Suddenly, small energy mines hidden in the ground activated. Bright flashes erupted near their feet. The enforcers stumbled back as electric charges shocked their boots. Ben used the distraction to fire his blaster. The first shot struck one enforcer directly, knocking him down. The others recovered quickly, firing back. Ben ducked behind cover as blaster bolts hit the porch. Inside, Scylla held the small device tightly. Ben's voice echoed in her head. If something happens, use the safe room. But Scylla stayed near the window, watching him fight. Her chest burned. She whispered to herself, don't let him fight alone. Outside, the enforcers advanced. Ben fired carefully, using every bit of cover, but there were too many. One shot grazed his shoulder. He gritted his teeth, staying low. Two enforcers reached the side of the house. Breaking through the wall, Sila heard the crash. They were inside now. Her hands shook. Her breathing grew fast. The knife in her hand felt heavy. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. An enforcer spotted her. He raised his weapon, but before he could fire, Sila threw a heavy metal tool directly at his head. The blow knocked him off balance. She lunged forward and slashed with the small knife. Her blade cut across his arm joint. The enforcer fell hard, his weapon sliding across the floor. Sila grabbed the fallen blaster with both hands. She aimed it at the second enforcer, who burst into the room. Her small voice shouted, "Stay away from my family." She fired. The shot struck the enforcer's chest plate, knocking him backwards outside. Ben heard the blasts. A brief smile flashed across his face even as he fired again. "That's my girl," he whispered. The remaining enforcers retreated to regroup. Their leader hissed, "Send for backup." But before backup could arrive, bright flashes appeared in the sky. Rebel dropships descended rapidly, landing near the farm. Mira's rebel fighters poured out, weapons ready. The enforcers froze. Outnumbered. Outflanked. They quickly retreated to their transport ship. Ben stood up slowly, breathing hard. Sila ran out of the house, dropping the blaster, and threw herself into his arms. "You're safe," he whispered, holding her tightly. "You too," she whispered back. Mira approached, smiling at the small family. "Looks like you'd have put up quite a fight." Ben smiled faintly, "Just defending what's mine." From the hills, Sila's family watched in silence. Their plan had failed. Their debt collectors had failed, and their betrayal was exposed. For the first time, Sila wasn't a victim anymore. She stood tall beside Ben. The battle was over, but the bond they built was only growing stronger. The proposal of adoption asterisk, the bullets had stopped. The enemies had fled. But for the first time in her life, Sila feared something even more powerful, being loved. The farm was quiet again. The sun was setting, painting the sky with warm orange light. Rebel ships hovered in the distance, guarding the valley. Mira's people were making sure no more enforcers would return. Inside the small house, Ben wrapped a fresh bandage around his shoulder where the blaster shot had grazed him. Sila sat silently at the table, watching him. She still couldn't believe what had happened. "You were brave today," Ben said softly. Sila looked down at her hands. "I was scared." Ben smiled gently. "Being brave doesn't mean you're never scared. It means you keep going anyway." She looked up at him, her voice small. "I hurt someone." Ben's voice remained calm. "You protected your home. You protected yourself." He reached across the table, placing his large, strong hand over her small ones. "And you protected me." Sila's eyes filled with tears. "No one ever protected me before." Ben squeezed her hands gently. "You deserve it." The door opened as Mira walked in. She smiled at them both. "The debt collectors are pulling out. We've made sure they won't come back." Ben nodded. "Thank you." Mira's eyes softened as she looked at Sila. "You're safe now, little one," Sila whispered. "For how long?" Mira smiled. "As long as you have someone who cares for you." That night, after Mira left, Ben and Sila sat quietly by the small fire outside the house. The stars blinked above them. The farm was calm again. Ben broke the silence. "I need to ask you something." Sila turned her head, nervous. Ben took a breath. "Do you want to stay here forever?" Sila blinked. I thought I would have to leave." Ben shook his head. "No one's forcing you anywhere. Not anymore." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small metal chain with a simple charm, a tiny carved tree, the symbol of family and new beginnings. "I don't just want you to stay on the farm." He looked into her wide golden eyes. "I want to adopt you, make you my daughter." Sila gasped. Her breath caught. Tears filled her eyes. You want me, truly." Ben smiled warmly. "I already love you like my own." For a long moment, Sila said nothing. Her whole life, she had been treated like property, traded, abandoned, forgotten. No one had ever offered her family before, real family. Finally, her voice cracked as she whispered, "Yes." She threw her arms around Ben, hugging him tightly. He held her close. "You'll never be alone again, little one." The stars above shone brighter that night. To hearts, once broken, now healing together. Far away, Sila's former family was Arrested by the rebels for their part in the illegal trade, their lives were exposed. Their deaths meant nothing now. Their betrayal cost them everything. But Sila didn't think about them anymore. She had found something stronger than blood. In the days that followed, Ben began teaching Sila everything about the farm. She learned how to plant, how to harvest, how to care for the animals. She learned how to build, how to repair, how to survive. But more than that, she learned how to trust. One morning, as they worked side by side, Sila looked up at Ben and asked softly, "Papa, am I truly safe now?" Ben placed his arm around her shoulders. "You're safe, and you're home." And for the first time in her life, Sila believed those words, truly believed them. But in the shadows beyond the valley, new enemies were watching. The debt collectors had lost one prize, but others still profited from the suffering of refugees. And they weren't done yet. Asterisk, the final stand. Asterisk, she had a new name, a new home, a new father. But peace always angers those who profit from pain. Weeks passed peacefully on Ben's farm. The crops grew taller. The animals roamed freely. The rebel guards patrolled the valley edges, keeping a distant watch. And Sila? She laughed again. She ran barefoot in the dirt. She fed the animals every morning beside Ben. Her nightmares grew softer. Her smile grew stronger. But far away, a darker plan was taking shape inside a secret base. A powerful dead lord slammed his fist on the table. "I don't care how many enforcers we lost. That child cost me profits. She belongs to us." A new voice spoke from the shadows. "Then send us." A group of heavily armed mercenaries stepped forward, ruthless hunters not bound by rules or laws. They were paid to succeed where others failed. Back on the farm, Ben's early warning scanners beeped late one night. He checked the screen. Multiple ships, heavy transports. Incoming fast. Ben woke Sila gently. "They're coming." Her heart pounded, but her voice stayed calm. "We fight." Ben smiled. "We protect our home." Together, they activated every defense. Hidden turrets rose from the ground. Energy shields powered up. The rebels had taught Ben many new tricks since the last attack. By sunrise, the sky was filled with enemy dropships. The mercenaries landed outside the farm, spreading out quickly. Their leader spoke through a loudspeaker. "Turn over the girl, farmer, or we level everything." Ben stepped out of the house, blaster in hand. His voice rang out clearly. "You'll get nothing here." The first shots were fired. Blaster bolts lit up the field. Turrets answered back, dropping several mercenaries. Sila stayed inside, monitoring the control panels. She activated traps Ben had carefully taught her. Spike barriers shot up from the ground, blocking enemy paths. The mercenaries were fast. They moved like trained killers. But Ben knew every corner of his land, every rock, every tree, every hidden passage. He lured small groups into narrow choke points where his defenses had the advantage. One by one, the attackers fell. Inside, Sila saw a group sneaking toward the house. She grabbed her blaster and took position by the window. Her small hands shook. Her breathing grew fast. "Be brave," she whispered. The mercenaries breached the side wall. The first one raised his weapon toward her. But Sila fired first. The shot struck true, knocking him down. She ducked behind cover as more blasts hit the walls. Ben heard the fighting inside and rushed back to the house. He arrived just as Sila stunned another mercenary. "You held them off," Ben said proudly. Sila smiled breathlessly. "We fight together." Outside, the remaining mercenaries regrouped. Their leader growled, "Burn the farm if you must. The girl is worth more than the land." But before they could act, the rebels arrived. Mira's ship swooped in fast, releasing squads of trained fighters. The mercenaries found themselves outnumbered and surrounded. The leader tried to escape, but was quickly captured. The remaining mercenaries surrendered. The battle was over, the final threat crushed. Sila and Ben stood together as Mira approached. She smiled at them both. They sent everything they had. Ben chuckled, and it still wasn't enough. Mira looked at Sila. "You fought well, little one." Sila smiled proudly. "I wasn't afraid this time." Ben placed his arm around her shoulders. "You're stronger than anyone expected." The valley returned to peace once more, but this time it would last. The dead lords had been exposed, their power broken, their cruelty revealed. Sila was no longer a target. She was free, truly free. That evening, under the stars, Ben and Sila sat by the quiet garden. The same small tree charm hung around her neck, the symbol of family. Sila leaned her head on Ben's shoulder. Papa, do you think they'll ever come again? Ben looked at the clear sky and smiled softly. If they do, they'll find us ready, and far above them, the stars blinked. But for Sila, they no longer looked cold. They looked like home. A new life in the fields. Asterisk, they tried to break her. They tried to sell her. They tried to take everything, but she found something they could never touch. Love. Months passed. The farm was alive with new life. Dark green crops swayed gently in the wind. Fresh animals roamed freely. Children's laughter echoed through the valley. Silas stood beside Ben, holding a small watering can, smiling as she poured water over the young plants. She had grown taller, stronger. Her golden eyes sparkled with happiness. Ben knelt beside her, gently placing a small seed into the soil. You see, little one, he said softly, good things take time to grow. Silas smiled and nodded. Just like us. In the distance, Mira and a small group of settlers arrived. More families, both human and alien, had come to live peacefully in the valley. The farm had become more than just a home. It was now a refuge, a symbol of hope. Mira approached them with a wide smile. Your farm has become something special, Ben. Ben looked around proudly. We just gave people a chance to start again. Mira nodded. Sometimes that's all anyone needs. Later that evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, a small gathering took place under the stars. The entire community stood together, humans and aliens side by side. Smiling. Free. Mira stood before them, raising her voice. This valley was once full of pain. It was a place where greed ruled. But this man and this brave young girl changed everything. She gestured to Ben and Sila. They showed us what real family looks like. The crowd cheered. Ben smiled, pulling Sila gently forward. Sila's voice trembled, but she spoke bravely. I was once left to die by my own family, tied up, abandoned. Her eyes glistened with emotion. But Ben, my father, saved me. She looked up at him with love. And here, I found my true family. The people clapped. Even those who had once been enemies now clapped with real joy. After the ceremony, Ben and Sila sat quietly under the stars. The soft wind blew through the tall grass. The night was calm. Syla rested her head on Ben's shoulder. Do you think about your old family? She asked softly. Ben sighed. Sometimes I miss them, but now I have you. He smiled warmly. And that makes my heart full again. Sila whispered. I was always scared I didn't deserve a family. Ben placed his arm around her gently. Everyone deserves love, little one. He kissed her head softly. You're my daughter. Nothing will ever change that. In the distance, children laughed and played. The farm was safe. The valley was peaceful. The war, the debts, the fear, all of it was over. And as the stars blinked above, Sila closed her eyes, whispering, I'm home.